You are watching the New American Media.
You are listening to The Unhappy Hour Sports Radio Show on thenewamericanmedia.com.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Brian. We are on thenewamericanmedia.com. We are having the Unhappy Hour program. We're talking about sports. We're going to specifically talk about Josh Gordon, the wide receiver out of Baylor who was selected in the second round of the supplemental draft, meaning the Cleveland Browns pre-drafted. They used the upcoming second-round pick that they had to pick this kid. And what is that going to mean for the Cleveland Browns, who added Trent Richardson and Mitchell Schwartz and Brandon Weeden? What if there might actually be a product worth watching on the field in Cleveland this year? That's pretty astonishing. And we are joined with Brandon Odell. He's going to talk with us about it. And before he does, I want to thank our sponsor, Three Black Cats. Just take a look at the website. I can't really describe it any better than going to the site will do. It's 3blackcats.storeenvy.com. That's the number 3blackcats.storeenvy.com. It's got really cool boxes, has herbal products, has hair accessories. It has really cool earrings, fake gauge earrings, etc. If you help our sponsors, you help the New American Media, so we appreciate that. Brandon, we were talking about Bernie Kosar going in the supplemental draft to the Browns way back when, and let's talk about this year. Josh Gordon. You know, he comes out of Baylor. Let's find out a little bit more about him.
Okay, I'm asking the radio audience to close their eyes for a second and imagine what a 6'3", 224-pound man would look like directly in front of you.
Dreamy.
And imagine what that man would look like running a 4.
Whoa, what's he running?
Sir,
Hey, we lost you. Imagine him running what? That was...
a 4.5 40-yard dash. And if you imagine those things, what you get is Josh Gordon, a physical specimen who, frankly, has a lot of people in Browns Nation very excited right now.
Okay, so now where does he fit in? Now, I thought Greg Little had those intangibles too. I don't have his stats in front of me, how big that guy is, but I thought he was a pretty big guy that had really good measurables. But how does he fit in with the receiving core of the Browns? Let me just stick with that for now.
Okay, very similar story with, well, in a way it is similar. With Josh Gordon to Greg Little, in that he actually was out of college. Well, not necessarily out of college football, but he had to sit this past season due to transfer concerns. Basically, what happened is he played sparingly as a true freshman at Baylor, and then burst onto the scene as a starter. And this Josh Gordon was a man as a sophomore. I mean, you see footage of this kid from Baylor's games in 2010 with Robert Griffin III throwing to him, with Kendall Wright, another first-round wide receiver on the other side of the field. This Baylor trio was devastating, and Josh Gordon caught 42 passes for 714 yards, 7 touchdowns, and unlike Greg Little, has been a wide receiver his entire life. You know, Greg Little, don't forget, is a converted running back and is still learning the position. Ultimately, I think what the Browns are hinting at that they would like is for Josh Gordon to theoretically be the number 1 and for Greg Little to be the number 2. Greg Little has more of the his frame fits the number 2 receiver role a little bit better. And as far as just being a pure physical specimen, I mean, apparently this Josh Gordon just looks like an absolute freak of nature when you see him with his shirt off.
And so he's going to be joining an offense now that has definitely retooled. I kind of touched on some of these players. Why don't you walk around? I mean, I think we're going to do an entire show, a positional battle, kind of discussing the entire revamping look of the Cleveland offense, and we'll do that on one of the upcoming episodes of Strictly Browns that Brandon and I will be discussing. So if you're listening to this for the first time on YouTube, click the subscribe button, because we're not going to stop talking Cleveland Browns until we win a Super Bowl, and hopefully that'll happen before I'm expired from this earth. So, Brandon, just go around the offense, start anywhere you want, and I guess let's start with the receivers. How is he going to fit in instantly? You said they would like to put Greg Little at a number 2, but it might not happen for a year. You're guessing?
And one thing to keep in mind is that, Tom Heckert actually even was quoted yesterday as saying that why do you need to label a receiver as a 1 or a 2? If they're both starting, aren't they both 1s?
Yeah,
and so I guess in his mind he sees Gordon and Little as 1A and 1B. So I guess the odd man out here as far as starting goes would be Mohamed Massaquoi, who really, for having relatively pedestrian numbers, he's never had above 30, I believe 38 catches in his 3-year career that has been marred by injury. He's just another concussion away from maybe never playing football again. Has shown flashes, but never truly scared any defenses. He might be the one who is going to have to learn how to get along on special teams a little bit more if he's going to make this ball club.
Well, you know what? That could be true. However, if you want to look at the problems that the Browns have had in the running game with the inconsistency of Peyton Hillis, he's either really good or then he disappears for a year. Inconsistent blocking on the line with injuries, and then inconsistent quarterback play. This might actually really help someone like Mohamed Massaquoi, who doesn't belong as a number 1, can slide to a number 2 or number 3. And yes, good point, like you're saying. Who cares 1, 2, or 3? Just go out, run your route, catch the ball, score touchdowns, win games, bring home titles. This could actually end up helping him, or it might be time to just cut your losses with this player and say that we didn't get the guy we thought we were drafting. He's been banged up, and we're just going to move in another direction now.
I absolutely agree with you 100%. I mean, in a way, a position, and obviously this is strictly speculation. I mean, let's not put Josh Gordon in the Hall of Fame just yet. There have been some receivers that were supposed to just absolutely set the world on fire that have been taken in the top 10 picks overall in the NFL draft that have ended up laying big goose eggs. I mean, some that come to mind for me would be Carlos Rogers out of Michigan State, who was the Detroit Lions took 3 top flight first round receivers and only hit most recently on Calvin Johnson. Now, Calvin Johnson was a big hit for them, and you could see why they're as successful as they are right now. But Carlos Rogers and Mike Williams out of USC, who came out in that same odd year as Maurice Claret, both come to mind.
Good points. I'll tell you what, Brandon, we have a little bit more to talk about here. Do we have you for another segment or two, sir?
Yeah, I have time for one more, I think.
Okay, well then I'll tell you what. We're going to make a dealer's choice. We can either continue doing the Strictly Browns, and we can go kind of a general overview at some of the big upgrades that we have done from running back to quarterback to right tackle to wide receiver, and kind of talk about how you see that impacting next year's team. Or we could do either our NFL Now segment or our college football update segment. Either way, we'll get to it after the break. If you're out there watching on YouTube after the fact, thank you very much. And if you enjoy the content and you want to talk some football, we want your comments underneath, so please feel free to type them. Keep them mostly civil, because I just don't have time for all of the garbage. There's a time and a place, and that's not really now. But we want your opinions. We want other people that care about the Cleveland Browns, that care about football, that enjoy this, that welcome the distraction from normal everyday life that sports can provide to us. but without going crazy over it. So click subscribe. If you're on Twitter, follow us at American_media_. We want to thank our sponsor, 3 Black Cats. Take a look at their stuff. It's herbal, it's organic, it's homemade, it's lotions, it's body butters, it's chapsticks, it's other cool stuff. Fake gauge tribal earrings, hair flowers in different boxes, a whole bunch of really cool things. The best way to see it is on the website, 3blackcats.storenvy.com. That's the number 3blackcats.storenvy.com. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a brief station identification break. We are going to be joined on the other side with Brandon Odell. We're going to keep talking football. Just the only question is, it's Brandon's choice. Are we going to the NFL? Are we going to talk college football? Or are we going to talk a little bit more about the Cleveland Browns? His call on the other side. My name's Brian Engelman, and you're listening to The Unhappy Hour on the NewAmericanMedia.com.
Follow the NewAmericanMedia.com on Twitter at American_media_.
You are watching The New American Media.